Welcome to the world's first straight talk Solarcast. This is your go-to podcast for answers about solar. Brought to you by Solar Harmonics in Northern California, who invite their customers to own their energy by purchasing a solar panel system for their home, business, or farm. Each episode, we discuss questions facing people making the decision to go solar. The solutions to your questions are given to you straight by one of the leading experts in the solar industry, Jamie Duran, president of Solar Harmonics. Feel free to search our library for answers to questions that you're facing when considering solar. And now, here's Adam Duran, our host with the questions, and Jamie Duran, our solar expert with Straight Talk Solarcast.
Hello, Jamie.
Hello, Adam.
How's everything in the land of solar this week?
Well, it is definitely nice and warm, definitely sunny, and almost everywhere I go, I'm hearing air conditioning go off and being used, and then I look up and I see no solar.
Yikes!
Oh no! So it is unbelievable because this time of year right now we're one day away from the summer equinox, so the longest day of the year. And that's also like Christmas for PG&E because that's when their rates. And I just saw another rate increase that was approved. And but this time of year, customers in PG&E territory during the peak time of day, so 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, or basically any time during the day, depending on the rate plan, they're upwards of 64 cents a kilowatt hour. And
wow.
By comparison, if you were in Reno, Nevada, you're at about 12 cents a kilowatt hour, maybe 14, 16 cents on the peak days. So that's amazing.
Well, that's across the country, right? Wait a second.
No, that's just
right
us.
next door.
Nevada, right. You could have PG&E in one county, and then the next county across the state line, you're in the Nevada Power, and so it's something to be looked at now because how is this keep happening? And I did talk with some state officials this week and talked about solar, and all of them had no idea what was happening in the land of solar.
What?
They're all dumbfounded that how could this be happening? We have to get more solar capacity. I mean, what are for example, in Brentwood, we are planning to change these buses, the tri-county buses, all over to electric. And I just asked, has anyone tested these out? And it just got some blinky eyes. And we have to go electric. We have to go electric. And I said, okay. Anyone know how long the buses are going to run? So no. I said, they run about 4 hours on one charge. And I said, does anyone know how much it costs to charge up a bus? Even during off-peak time. So most buses run about 6 hours a day, 6 to 8 hours at the most. And now if you need 2 buses to replace one bus, that's kind of redundancy. And then what happens? Is there a plan in case they run out of battery? And lots of blinky eyes, this whole conversation. And but I mentioned that the amount of electricity they're going to need is going to be pretty staggering. And is there a plan? This was my biggest question. Is there a plan for this electricity? And how is it going to be? Are you just going to buy it from the grid? And lots more blinky eyes, and then people started kind of running into each other and like, well, we got to find this out. And I said that would be good because I would expect you would need a solar farm, several thousand solar panels to pay for the bus. I think there's like 60 buses that they're planning to convert to electric, and this is just one little town in Northern California, and there's lots and lots of communities, lots of counties, and lots of states, I know Washington, D.C. is fully electric, but they have low electricity rates. And plenty of other communities are planning to take their bus fleets electric. And actually, San Francisco has been electric since the 80s, which is pretty amazing. But it's not battery storage kind of buses. They're just kind of like electric golf carts that are tied to an overhead maze of these electrical lines. And that would never be approved these days. So I do imagine San Francisco is going to try and change over. But it is what my point of all this is that as we are getting more and more electrified, and not just electric vehicles, which are coming out almost every day, it seems like there's a new electric vehicle coming out. And California does have a plan now 11 years out. So 2035, all new cars in California that are sold have to be electric, fully electric. And so there's lots of car companies that are coming out with new ones, and lots of small electric car companies that are gaining tons of investment and coming out with their cars. It doesn't seem like there's much of a plan to how are we going to charge these things up? Are we just buying from the grid that's already overtaxed? And so solar should be the answer. And when I'm talking with these elected officials and saying, you know, or just buying from the grid because $1.20 a kilowatt hour is pretty significant, you know, should that happen in the next 10 years. Or you could plan now and get the solar and have it ready for these, you know, these big changes in the way that we're living our lives, and get the answer that is most common is we will cross that bridge when we come to it. And that's my least favorite answer. I like to plan for a bridge to be there. That would be nice. And I'll be having more discussions. I have given all my contact information, invited them to listen to the podcast. So if you are listening to this podcast, great step in the right direction. And if not, we look forward to hearing from you soon. But yeah, this is it's very interesting to see what's going to happen. And then when I also mentioned that California is in the process of phasing out natural gas, it's going to be a much longer process than they thought. But as far as large natural gas appliances like furnaces for people that need heat in the winter, those will be moved over to electric heat pumps. And we've talked about this before, is that the amount of electricity needed in the wintertime to run a heat pump is pretty staggering. And that's when we don't have any solar power. And so that's when they look at me and say, what are you going to do about that? And I just shrug my shoulders. Like I give them the blinky eyes, because I don't know of a way that you could produce enough solar energy to power a heat pump in December. So yeah, it's fascinating. It's interesting. And talking with other people who are just saying my electricity bill is just out of control, staggering. Where do I turn? I know I waited too long to get solar. I said, no, it's no better time than right now, because tomorrow, who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, so it's a great time to go solar. And for customers out there, there's so many solar companies that are really struggling. And so they are almost selling their solar below cost, which is good and bad, because it's really, you know, you're going to be good in the short term. And then in the long term, if that company is not around, then there will be no one to service it. And what we've seen over these 16 years in business, solar needs to be serviced. It's just talked to another client where he bought solar with a house, or it came with the house, and he just assumed everything was fine. He never looked at his electricity bills, and everything's great. And then somehow he contacted us, and we said, "Oh, we're not seeing any solar." And it's been like 3 years. He said, "I've always wondered what that giant bill I would get in August, and yeah, that's the true up bill, and it needs to be fixed, updated, replaced." And he said, "Nope, just throw it away. Just get rid of it." I said, "Well, that's that's not our anyway." So yeah, that would be great. And now you will be left with the big bill. He's like, "I was wondering why I would get a $10 bill every month, and then all of a sudden I get like a $8,000 bill." And I had solar, and I just thought it should work. And I agree, it should work, and it does work. It just needs to be, watched. It definitely needs to be watched. Can't assume things so much. So,
question.
Always fascinating. Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you were in charge of one of these local municipalities that is going to transform their bus fleet to electric, like, they're going to buy 2 buses for everyone now. And now, what is your solution for this? What would you do if you were in charge?
Okay, so I would work backwards and say, well, what is the maximum someone would be willing to pay to ride the bus? Let's just say on a monthly basis.
Oh my God.
Exactly. And then I'd work back from there, and then there'd be no more buses because they lose money.
Right. Okay. So
hand over fist.
Okay.
And, now it's almost the same price to take an Uber as it is to take the bus. And it's when you work if you pay one fare at a time, then that's one thing. But if you're buying a monthly pass so you can just get on and off the bus, it's not inexpensive. And so to go electric, they're thinking, oh, we're going to save all this money in fossil fuels and we're going to improve the air quality. Absolutely, those do happen with a electric bus fleet, but there's a lot of other costs that go along with it. So I would, like I said, I would work backwards and see if it makes financial sense. If it can be self-sustaining.
Jamie, like that is the reason this is called Straight Talk Solarcast right there. Because I was expecting you to be like, they should have a whole solar farm built on top of every government building. And, they should park the buses next to the big solar farm so they can charge. But you just said, nah, get rid of it all.
No, if it can pay for itself. It's just,
right.
If there's only, 100 people that ride the buses in East Contra Costa County regularly, I would just, but, this county spends, $10 million on it'd be way cheaper just to hire individual drivers and pay for an Uber for each one of these people that need to go somewhere. So I would just look, and those Uber drivers, they can drive electric. So it's a whole thing. But I know there's lots of seniors and lots of handicapped people that do rely on the buses.
But now you're right. With Uber, it's door to door. So they don't need to roll up or, and use their walker to go to the bus stop anymore. They just call up an Uber. Wow.
Could not agree more. And another question, Adam, why don't buses have seatbelts? Fascinating. We care about safety, or we not?
But I mean, if you're in an urban area, so you're talking like suburbs, right? So in an urban area, buses are an integral part of transportation. So I don't know what their financial situation is of San Francisco's Muni system, for example. But if you're in that area, it does make sense. Instead of, have you been? I've been in a gridlock, downtown on my motorcycle where I look around and there's no movement. Like you're stuck
in any direction.
Yeah, and you're like, it's a green light. You've gone through like 5 cycles of green lights and red lights, and you're like, what are we doing here, fellas? So obviously, I would think that in those areas, buses are necessary.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not. And
okay.
What I'm saying is, let's start with the end. What is somebody willing to pay for a bus fare? You asked me what I would do. And so I would say, okay, well, let's start backwards. It's like, I want to open a restaurant. Okay, great. Is somebody willing to pay $22 for a hamburger and French fries and a drink? And if the answer is no, then how can you pause? And with minimum wage and everything, it's just really, it's going to be really difficult for anyone in the restaurant business in California to stay in business. So.
This is not a private enterprise, though, the buses, right? Public. So definitely tax supported plus rider supported, right?
Well, then what is the acceptable loss that you can tolerate? And so if I was running it,
yes.
as you just asked, there would be zero loss. It would either break even or have a profit every year. So. But what do I know? I'm just a finance guy, a solar guy, a solution person. So, but yeah, it should be self-sustaining, and there would be a reserve for capital improvements and all that kind of stuff. That's not how it works. It's not. But anywho, we can talk more about this offline, Adam. Obviously, you have some thoughts.
That's good. All right,
buses are right.
When I didn't have that motorcycle, I was riding the bus and public transportation all over the place.
Absolutely. Me too.
I had no choice. It was a nightmare every day. It surely motivated me to get a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
And then a car. Yay.
Yep. Hooray.
Yes. Thank you. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you for taking another few minutes out of your day and week to learn a little more about solar from Jamie, the Straight Talk Solarcast expert. We've been doing this podcast, I don't know, Jamie, for 6-7 years. Long time. So if you have a question about solar, you know what to do. You can go to our Facebook page, Straight Talk Solarcast, send us a message through there. If you'd like to visit a library of our past episodes, go to solarharmonics.com. You can click on the podcast link at the top of the website, and you can be taken to that library and searchable, so you can search for any topic that you desire. If you have a friend considering going solar, this would be a great podcast to recommend to them because it will save them thousands upon thousands of dollars over the life of their system. What better friend is that? We always ask, and I don't know. Until next time, see you.
That's all for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Straight Talk Solarcast with solar expert Jamie Duran. Join us each week for more answers to your solar questions. Speaking of questions, got some? Email us at solarcast@solarharmonics.com and we'll be sure to give you an answer in an upcoming episode. This episode of Straight Talk Solarcast is brought to you by Solar Harmonics, the leading solar energy developer in Northern California, who invite you to own your energy. Visit them on the web at www.solarharmonics.com.